In John 8:12, Jesus makes a bold declaration that echoes through time. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. These words are simple, yet they carry a weight of eternity. To understand their full meaning, it is crucial to see them in the setting in which Jesus spoke. He was not speaking randomly or without context. This declaration was made during the Feast of Tabernacles, inside the temple courts in Jerusalem. The feast was a time of remembering how God led Israel through the wilderness with the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. During the celebration, great lamps were lit in the temple's court of women, filling Jerusalem with blazing light that symbolized God's presence guiding his people. Against this backdrop of glowing fire and remembered history, Jesus stood and declared himself not merely a bearer of light, but the light itself, the light of the world. This setting in the temple is crucial. The people gathered there understood the symbolism of light. Light was a central image of God's presence in their history. It was light that marked creation's beginning, when God said, "Let there be light." It was light that guided their ancestors through the desert. It was light that shone from the temple itself, signifying God's dwelling among his people. And here, in that very temple, Jesus proclaims that he is the true fulfillment of all those images. He is not only the God who once gave light, he is the God who now stands before them as light incarnate. His words were not just religious poetry, they were a claim to divine identity. In that temple where God's presence was celebrated, Jesus identified himself as the very presence of God in human flesh. To declare, "I am the light of the world," was also a direct challenge to the darkness of the religious leaders. Just before this statement, the Pharisees had tried to trap Jesus with the woman caught in adultery. They had used her as a tool to test him, exposing their own hypocrisy and hardness of heart. In that confrontation, Jesus revealed both mercy and truth. He exposed their sin without a word of condemnation, shining light into the hidden corners of their hearts. Immediately after, he declares himself the light of the world. The timing is deliberate. In the presence of those who claimed to be guides of Israel but walked in hypocrisy, he announces that he is the true guide. Where they used the law to condemn and manipulate, he used the law to reveal sin and point to grace. Their actions were rooted in darkness. His identity was light. The imagery of light and darkness runs deeply through John's Gospel. In John 1, the prologue declares that the Word was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John sets the tone for his entire narrative. Jesus is the light, and his mission is to penetrate the world's darkness. By the time we reach John 8, this theme is at a climax. The world is steeped in spiritual blindness, religious pride, and moral corruption. Even in the temple, the very place meant to symbolize God's holiness, darkness lurks. Yet it is in that setting that Jesus announces himself as the answer. Light has come into the very heart of the temple, exposing sin and offering life. For the Jewish people, the claim, "I am the light of the world," would not have been heard as neutral. Light was one of the names of God in their scriptures. Psalm 27 opens with the words, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" Isaiah prophesied that the servant of the Lord would be a light for the nations. By declaring himself the light of the world, Jesus was not simply offering encouragement. He was claiming to be the fulfillment of God's promises, the very presence of Yahweh shining into human history. He was identifying himself as the one who brings salvation, who dispels fear, who guides in the wilderness, who opens the eyes of the blind. His words were a claim to divine authority, and they demanded a response. To follow him, he says, is to never walk in darkness but have the light of life. Darkness in John is not just the absence of physical light, it is the state of spiritual blindness and sin. It is the darkness of unbelief, of separation from God, of moral confusion. To walk in darkness is to stumble through life without purpose, to be trapped in guilt and fear, to be lost in the shadows of death. Jesus' promise is that those who follow him will not remain in that condition. To follow him is to step into clarity, forgiveness, and direction. It is to have the light of life, the illumination that comes not only from knowing truth, but from being connected to the source of life itself. This promise of light must be seen in the context of the temple. The lamps lit during the Feast of Tabernacles eventually burned out. The fire that once guided Israel in the wilderness was long gone. Even the temple itself, magnificent as it was, could not truly dispel darkness from the human heart. But Jesus offers something different. His light never fades. His presence is not confined to a festival or a building. He is the everlasting light, the one who not only shines on Israel but on the whole world. His claim breaks the boundaries of nationalism, of ritual, of geography. He is the light not only of Jerusalem, but of every nation, every people, every heart willing to believe. It is striking that Jesus makes this claim in a setting where religious leaders are plotting against him. The contrast could not be greater. The light of the world standing in a temple clouded with political schemes and spiritual blindness. His words are both invitation and judgment. For those who receive him, the light means freedom, life, and joy. For those who reject him, the light exposes their darkness and hardens their resistance. Light does not allow neutrality. It forces a choice, either step into it or turn away from it. For Nicodemus, who had come to Jesus earlier at night, these words echo his struggle. He had approached Jesus under the cover of darkness, unsure and hesitant. Here, Jesus proclaims that those who follow him no longer need to stay in shadows. They can walk in the open, in the light of life. The temple setting underscores this invitation. People came to the temple seeking God's presence, guidance, and forgiveness. Now the true presence of God stood before them, offering himself as the light of life. The temple's lamps were symbols. Jesus was the reality. The temple's sacrifices pointed forward. Jesus was the fulfillment. To remain in ritual and reject him was to remain in darkness. This moment also points forward to the cross. Light shines most brightly against darkness, and Jesus' greatest act of illumination would come in his crucifixion. On that day, the world would see the darkness of sin, hatred, and death gather against him, and yet, through his sacrifice, the light of salvation would shine. The resurrection would prove that the darkness cannot overcome the light. His declaration in the temple courts finds its ultimate fulfillment at the empty tomb, where life and light break forth forever. For us today, the words, "I am the light of the world," remain as urgent as ever. We live in a world filled with darkness, violence, injustice, confusion, despair. People grope for meaning, stumble in moral blindness, and hunger for guidance. Many still seek light in rituals, philosophies, or human leaders, but all such lights eventually fade. Only Jesus offers the true and eternal light. His words are not just history, but present reality. He is still the light of the world. He still invites us to follow him, to leave the shadows behind, to walk in the clarity and freedom of his truth. The temple setting also challenges us to consider where we look for light. Do we depend on traditions, institutions, or leaders to give us what only Christ can? Do we admire the glow of temporary lamps while ignoring the true light? The Feast of Tabernacles lights were beautiful, but they could not save. The Pharisees were respected, but they could not deliver from sin. Only Jesus could. And still, only Jesus can. To follow him is not simply to admire him from afar, but to walk after him, to trust him daily, to let his word and spirit guide our steps. The promise is both personal and cosmic. Personally, it means we need not live in darkness. Whatever guilt, confusion, or fear haunts us, his light can guide and heal. We are no longer condemned to stumble blindly. We are given clarity and direction in him. Cosmically, it means that the world's hope lies not in politics, technology, or human wisdom, but in the light of Christ. He is the answer to global darkness, the beacon of salvation for all nations. His light is not confined to one temple, one city, one people. It shines to the ends of the earth, inviting all who will believe. Thus, when Jesus declared in the temple courts, "I am the light of the world," he was doing more than making a metaphor. He was proclaiming his divine identity, fulfilling Israel's history, confronting religious hypocrisy, and inviting all people into life. His words reverberate through the ages as both challenge and comfort. The lamps of human religion burn out. The darkness of sin seems overwhelming, but the light shines, and the darkness cannot overcome it. Whoever follows him will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. This is the promise of the one who spoke in the temple that day, and it remains the promise to us now. The declaration of Jesus as the light of the world in John 8:12 must also be understood in the tension between his words and the religious leaders who immediately questioned him. Right after he spoke, the Pharisees challenged him. Here you are, appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid. Their objection reveals the blindness of their hearts. They were standing in the very presence of the one who embodied the light of God, yet they could not recognize him. Their reliance on legal argumentation and their rigid interpretation of the law blinded them to the reality of the living word in front of them. This is part of the irony John often presents. Those who claim to see are the most blind, while those who confess blindness find sight in Jesus. Jesus responded with authority. Even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is valid, for I know where I came from and where I am going. Here, he roots his authority not in human standards, but in divine identity. He comes from the Father and is returning to the Father. His words are valid because he speaks as the Son of God, not as a mere rabbi. His self-testimony carries the weight of eternal truth. He continues, "You judge by human standards. I pass judgment on no one. But if I do judge, my decisions are true, because I am not alone. I stand with the Father who sent me." The Pharisees judged by appearance, by tradition, by the surface of things. Jesus judged with perfect truth in complete unity with the Father. Their judgment was rooted in darkness. His was rooted in light. This exchange highlights the difference between walking in darkness and walking in light. The Pharisees, despite their learning and religious authority, were walking in darkness because they rejected the one who is light. Their judgments were clouded by pride, fear, and self-interest. They claimed to uphold the law, but in truth, they were twisting it to maintain control and resist the truth of God revealed in Christ. Light exposes such motives. In contrast, those who follow Jesus walk in the light. They are guided not by appearances or human standards, but by the truth of God. Walking in the light means letting Jesus' words, his spirit, and his example direct our path. It means trusting his authority and recognizing his unity with the Father. The temple setting deepens the meaning of this confrontation. The Feast of Tabernacles not only celebrated God's provision in the wilderness, but also looked forward to the coming of God's glory to his people. Zechariah 14, often read during the feast, prophesied of a day when living waters would flow from Jerusalem and the Lord would be king over all the earth. Light was central to these expectations. When Jesus declares himself the light of the world, he is claiming to be the fulfillment of these prophecies. Yet the leaders, instead of rejoicing, reject him. The very fulfillment of their hopes stands before them, and they cannot see it. Their blindness is a tragic testimony to the power of pride and unbelief. Light and darkness in John's Gospel are not neutral categories. They are moral and spiritual. To walk in the light is to live in relationship with God, to have life and truth. To walk in darkness is to reject God, to remain in sin and death. This is why Jesus' words are so radical. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The promise is absolute. It is not that followers of Jesus will sometimes walk in light and sometimes in darkness, but that they will never be abandoned to darkness. His light secures them, guides them, and sustains them. This is not a guarantee of a life without struggle, but it is the assurance that his presence will never leave them in confusion or condemnation. The religious leaders' rejection also reminds us that light is confrontational. It not only comforts, but also exposes. For those living in sin or hypocrisy, light is threatening. It reveals hidden motives and secret deeds. This is why some reject Jesus, not because he is untrue, but because they love darkness more than light. As he said earlier in John 3, this is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. The Pharisees, unwilling to admit their sin and desperate to maintain power, resisted the light. Their confrontation with Jesus is evidence of this. But for those who are humble, who acknowledge their need, light is a gift. It brings healing, direction, and freedom. The promise of the light of life also carries echoes of creation itself. In Genesis 1, God's first act in shaping the world was to speak light into existence. That light brought order to chaos and life to what was formless. Jesus, as the light of the world, performs the same role in the new creation. He speaks light into human hearts, bringing order to the chaos of sin and life to the deadness of the soul. The same God who said, "Let there be light," now says, "I am the light." To follow him is to step into that new creation, to live as children of the light. The temple setting also links this claim to Israel's wilderness journey. The pillar of fire by night was the visible sign of God's presence with his people, guiding them through the desert. Wherever the fire moved, they followed. To refuse to follow meant to be left behind in darkness. Jesus now presents himself as that guiding presence. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. The imagery is unmistakable. Just as the Israelites were guided by God's light, so now his followers are guided by Jesus. He is the new and greater pillar of fire, leading not only Israel but the entire world out of darkness into the promised land of eternal life. For the hearers in the temple, this was a staggering claim. For us today, it remains just as staggering and just as urgent. We live in a world filled with darkness, moral confusion, injustice, despair, brokenness. Many try to navigate this darkness on their own, relying on human wisdom, traditions, or philosophies. But Jesus declares that he alone is the light. Without him, we remain in shadows. With him, we walk in clarity, hope, and truth. His light does not merely shine on us, it becomes ours. We have the light of life. It is not borrowed but possessed because he gives himself to us. This truth calls for decision. We cannot remain neutral toward the light. We either follow or resist, step into the brightness or retreat into the shadows. The Pharisees' rejection is a warning. Religious knowledge, tradition, and even outward morality cannot substitute for following the light. The crowd's curiosity is not enough. Admiration does not equal faith. To follow Jesus is to entrust our steps to him daily, to let his word and spirit guide us, to be willing to let him expose and heal the darkness within us. The promise is sure. Those who follow will never walk in darkness. They will have the light of life. Thus, in the temple courts, beneath the glow of massive lamps celebrating God's past deliverance, Jesus declared himself the true and eternal light. The lamps would fade, the festival would end, the temple itself would one day fall. But his light endures. It shines into every age, into every culture, into every heart willing to believe. And it shines with a promise: follow me, and you will never walk in darkness. That promise, spoken then, still speaks now, calling us to step out of the shadows and into his light. When Jesus declared himself the light of the world in John 8:12, the impact of his words went far beyond the immediate dispute with the Pharisees. His statement carries eternal weight, because light does not only reveal truth, but also defines the path of life. For those who accept him, light becomes a source of guidance, comfort, and hope. For those who reject him, light exposes sin and deepens their resistance. This is why his claim in the temple was not merely theological. It was deeply personal and confrontational. Each listener had to decide whether to step into his light or remain in their darkness. The same decision faces every generation. The imagery of light was rich with meaning for the people of Israel. Their scriptures were filled with promises of light. Isaiah had prophesied that a great light would shine on those walking in darkness. The psalmist declared that God's word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. In the temple courts, with the brilliant festival lamps still glowing, all these associations would have been alive in the minds of those listening. When Jesus identified himself as the light, he was claiming to be the fulfillment of all those promises. He was not simply another teacher pointing to God's light. He was God's light come in person. This claim was both breathtaking and offensive. It meant that to know God's light, one had to know him. To reject him was to reject the very light of God. Light is also a symbol of purity and holiness. In the temple setting, where sacrifices were offered and rituals performed to maintain holiness, Jesus' words carried added depth. He was announcing that holiness was not achieved through ritual alone, but through relationship with him. To walk in his light was to share in his holiness, to be cleansed and made whole. The Pharisees, proud of their meticulous observance, missed this truth. They kept the outward forms but refused the inward transformation. The light exposed their hypocrisy. For the humble, however, his light offered cleansing and renewal. To step into his light was to be forgiven, to be guided, to be embraced by God's presence. The promise that those who follow him will never walk in darkness. also spoke directly to the fears and uncertainties of life. Darkness is a symbol not only of sin, but also of confusion, danger, and death. In a world where political oppression weighed heavy, where poverty and injustice abounded, where mortality was a constant reality, Jesus' words were a promise of security. To walk in his light meant to have direction when the path seemed unclear, courage when fear loomed large, and hope when death threatened to overwhelm. His light is not abstract, it meets the deepest human needs. This is why his claim resonated so powerfully, and why it still does today. The confrontation that followed in John 8, where the Pharisees questioned his authority, underscores how radical his words were. They could not accept his claim because it undermined their authority and exposed their blindness. Yet Jesus did not back down. He insisted that his testimony was true because it came from his unity with the Father. He declared that those who did not recognize him did not know the Father. Once again, the imagery of light is central. They believed they were the guardians of God's law, the keepers of his truth, but in reality they were stumbling in darkness. Their rejection of Jesus revealed that they did not truly know the God they claimed to serve. This narrative challenges us as well. It is possible to be religious, moral, and knowledgeable, yet still walk in darkness if we reject Jesus. It is possible to cling to traditions, rituals, or human wisdom and miss the light standing before us. The Pharisees' error was not in their devotion to Scripture, but in their refusal to see its fulfillment in Christ. For us, the danger is similar. We may honor the forms of religion, but resist the transformation Jesus brings. We may admire his teachings, but not submit to his authority. We may claim to seek truth, but avoid the exposure his light brings to our hidden sins. The call of John 8:12 is to more than admiration, it is to wholehearted following. Light is not something we glance at occasionally, it is something we walk in. To follow Jesus as the light of the world means to order our steps by his word, to let his spirit shape our choices, to allow his presence to define our lives. It means leaving behind the darkness of secret sin, dishonesty, and pride, and stepping into the open where his grace forgives and renews. It means trusting him even when the way is uncertain, believing that his light is sufficient for the next step, even if we cannot see the whole path. The promise is not that the journey will be easy, but that we will never be abandoned to the dark. His light goes with us always. This truth becomes even more powerful when we remember that Jesus spoke these words in the temple, the very symbol of God's presence. The temple was lit with lamps, filled with worshippers, adorned with sacrifices, yet it could not dispel the darkness of sin in the human heart. Jesus, standing there, declared that he was the true light, greater than the temple, greater than its rituals, greater than its symbols. He was offering himself as the fulfillment of everything the temple represented. The light of God's presence was no longer confined to a building. It was present in him, available to all who believe. Ultimately, Jesus' claim points us to the cross and the resurrection. His light shines brightest in the moment of greatest darkness. On the cross, the world's sin, hatred, and rejection converged. For a moment, it seemed the darkness had won. Yet through his sacrifice, the light of salvation broke forth. His resurrection proved once and for all that the darkness cannot overcome the light. This is the foundation of his promise in John 8:12. The one who follows him will never walk in darkness because his victory is complete. The light of life is not temporary but eternal. It carries us through the valley of death into the brightness of resurrection. For us today, the invitation stands. Jesus is still the light of the world. His words still pierce the shadows of our age, calling us out of confusion, fear, and sin into clarity, peace, and holiness. The decision remains the same as it was in the temple courts. Will we follow him or resist him? Will we step into his light or cling to our darkness? The promise is sure. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. This is not a distant hope, but a present reality for all who believe. The light shines, and the darkness has not overcome it. The question is whether we will walk.